What's going on, y'all? Nick here, and I'm with my brother.
Alan, you know what time it is?
It's time to get about our father's business. So we
Yes,
got
sir.
an we got an interesting topic today. As you can see from the video, should this man divorce his wife for quitting her job? So it's pretty interesting, but let's check out what this. This is coming by way of. Let me just make sure I'm getting it right. But I believe it was coming from the Comfort Level podcast. So
Okay.
this is what they had to share. All right.
Am I the asshole for threatening my wife with divorce after she quit her job to be a tradwife?
Hmm.
I don't even know where to begin with this. Me, 34 male, and my wife, 33 female, have 2 kids together, 11 male and 9 female. Me and my wife have been together for 12 years and married for 8. Around a year ago, I noticed my wife increasingly sending me these tradwife or traditional housewife TikToks. I have nothing against that type of relationship, but I don't think it makes sense for our current family situation. I do earn quite a bit more than my wife and enough to sustain our family on my own, but I don't see the need to do so. I work 80% and my wife 50%. And besides Wednesdays, where both of us are working, either one of us is always home for the kids.
All right. So I don't know if you hear what she's saying, but like I mean, the man is saying that he doesn't feel like he needs to do it.
hmm
Um,
hmm
there's more to the video, but what's your thoughts, man? Maybe you should dive in first.
Yeah, so far the things that sticks out to me is she said they were married 12 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
Married,
right.
yeah, married 12 years. 12 years in this generation is a long time.
Okay,
It's
okay.
not like yesteryear, grandma and grandpa, they stayed together, years. But 12 years is a decent, amount of time to be married, and I so far in the video, I kind of see both sides. That's the man. He has the authority in that home to be able to, you know, dictate what goes on. Um, and at the same time, like the Bible tells us to, dwell with your wife according to knowledge.
Mhm.
So I'm interested to see the nuances of what went on. What saith you?
Yeah, man. What stands out to me is that there's kind of like this dichotomy between the traditional household and the modern household. And I
hmm
think that, traditionally men are expected to go to work and be the breadwinner. And to some extent, I still actually believe that today.
True.
But I do believe that there is just a reality. Like, a lot of people are living in two income households, and
Yes.
you can cut back, but depending on how much children you have, it took two to tango, right?
Yeah.
Two of y'all made these children. There's a lot of mouths to feed at that point, and it's just like it requires bringing some bread. So,
hmm
um, although I think this woman, there's nothing wrong with her trying to be a trad wife, which is a traditional wife, a stay at home
hmm
mom. Um, but there's a discussion that needs to be had. Like, I think there's a discussion that needs to be had. But let's
Yeah.
see what else.
Yeah. Let's dive a little deeper.
I could work 100% and let my wife be a stay at home mom, but again, both of my kids are attending school, and in my mind, there's no need for my wife to be at home 24/7. She got increased.
Hey, man, I'm sorry. I know I keep pausing, but that's where we're breaking down, man. Like the children are at work, are at
At
school.
school, yeah.
So like, I could understand if the wife was also homeschooling. But if the children going to school, I mean, how much work that woman gonna finna do at the house, man? Like, I don't know, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I would rather have the children, at home, homeschooling, if she's going to be there. Uh, yeah, man, it's, I know every man runs his home different, but I kind of agree, bro. Like, if you're going to be home, at least, educate our children, you know what I mean? Instead of having them out there in the public school system, educate the children.
Right. Because I mean, there's a reality to it too. Like, I mean, and you talking to somebody who, I've had my wife, stay at home.
hmm
Um, the child was very early on at that point. So they need a lot more attention.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, you know, if you're gonna be home, you gotta justify it. You know what I mean? Like, cause these women can't just be idle. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And in the name of being macho, oh yeah, I bring in all the bread. My wife don't
Yeah.
got to go to work. Yeah, that sounds cute in paper, but this woman does need to actually be productive. She can't just
Hmm.
stay at home. And I don't think any amount of cooking or cleaning is gonna justify being at the house up to upwards of 8 to 10 hours. Depending on if I'm traveling,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably an hour right there. 8 hours at work and then an hour. So you spend almost like 10 hours in the house, and is there that much cleaning every day? I just don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Increasingly pushy about it over the past 2 months. And again, I just kept on telling her that there wasn't any need for that. And if we did decide to go down that route, what would she do during the hours my kids attended school? I know damn well our house doesn't need to be cleaned for 6 hours a day. She would constantly try to butter me up with, you would have dinner ready every day when coming home from work, and something about unlimited blowjobs or some BS like that. Out of pocket. Again, in the nicest way possible, I would remind her that our kids weren't toddlers and our current work life schedule allowed us to function perfectly fine. We got into a pretty heated argument 2 weeks ago about it, and my wife completely stopped having sex with me to show me what I was missing out on. She basically has been treating me like a roommate since.
ah man, come on, man.
See,
Come on, man.
yeah. What the word say about that? We can't withhold, conjugal rights from each other. And one thing leads to another. First is the miscommunication. By just dropping the job without letting her husband know. And I want to turn it, to our relationship with the Father, right? Us
Right.
as brides of Christ, we just can't go out here and just um, quit our roles just whenever we want to, because we feel a certain type of way, or we think that's where we need to be, or we think this is where we should be going or doing. We gotta check in with our Father. We gotta check in with our Master, and that's what we got to do in this generation. We got to be a light to Gentiles, and let them know with other marriages, that hey, there's some communication that needs to go forward. And discuss it. Let's discuss. Why don't you want to be at work anymore? I don't know, all the background, but I'm just kind of, spitballing here. But why? What's the sudden? What is the sudden? All of a sudden, you don't want to be at work no more. What's that about? Let's talk about it. Don't just go off and do something. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's the communication. These days is just not there. I know with marriages, that's one of the biggest things is communication. Because once they get in therapy, you can look it up. Like the therapist and all the counselors is just lack of communication. And this is just a clear example of that, not communicating your desires, not communicating your expectations, on both sides. Yes, she wants to, stay home and cook, and that's good, but so I know her heart may be in the right place in some areas, but let's bring it full circle. Let's get the children home. Let's homeschool the children. Let's start a home business or something like Proverbs 31. The woman, she considered a field and bought it. She's industrious. She gets up early. Her whole house calls her blessed. So let's put the whole picture together, not just have these sporadic pieces of marriage just floating out there and not willing to put them all together and make a great holy righteous marriage. What
Right.
saith
Right.
you?
Yeah, man. It kind of called to mind the passage of scripture regarding making vows, and how the importance of communication is so important within the structure of marriage, because you can
Hmm.
see instances where women in the Bible, they would make vows, and it would literally say if the husband did not approve, that he could actually cancel out the vow, right?
Hmm.
And likewise, or I should say, on the flip side, if the husband heard it and did not disannul the vow, then
Then
the
the vow
vow stands,
stands.
right?
Yep. Hmm.
So, I mean, the man clearly has some level of authority over the woman. And the thing is, again, in my humble opinion, like, for this woman to simply make a decision on her own without considering what's actually taking place, it just seems off, and it does scream, um, or it puts up the red flag that okay, you head in this direction.
Hmm.
Um, Statistically, it's not going to end off well. You know what I'm saying? Like there's probably
Right.
going to be some type of separation, some type of divorce, because again, you're not hearkening, you're not considering your husband.
True.
Um, and the thing that's crazy to it too, I think you kind of touched on it, but there's this idea where it's just like, you know, bring it full circle, right? Like you're just gonna cut off all work altogether, and to do
Yeah.
what? And it is maybe there's a disconnect. I feel like there's got to be a disconnect in terms of maybe what people are being told or preached to in the world as to what a marriage would look like
Hmm.
versus what you brought up, which was like the Proverbs 31. Like this woman's industrious, right? She wakes up early, like she has something going for herself. You
Hmm.
have even Sarah, right?
Hmm.
Where Hagar was Sarah's handmaid.
Hmm.
It wasn't Abraham's handmaid.
Right.
She'll uh again, this woman is someone who has the ability to own something, right? She's not just like this passive woman,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
helpless woman, and you got to take care of me 100%. There is some of that, right? The man is supposed to provide, he's supposed to take care of the
True.
woman. That's an absolute fact, but
Yes,
there's
sir.
got to be some level of culpability on the woman as well to be about her business. She
Hmm.
got
Hmm.
she can't just be standing doing nothing.
Sure.
Um, Let me see this video.
I just thought she would get over it and that it was just a phase, but God, was I wrong. I came home from work yesterday and I saw a bunch of presents on the dining room table. At first, I thought they were all for me since my birthday was in a week, but then I saw the labels on them were addressed to my wife. I read one of the letters attached to one of the presents. The last sentence on it was literally, "It was so a pleasure working alongside you, and I wish all the best moving forward." I thought this was a sick prank. A few minutes later, my wife just casually strolled into the living room, acting like nothing was wrong. I guess she saw my mad expression and had the audacity to tell me that you'll get over it. I just lost it. I left without saying another word and I went to my parents' house. I feel absolutely disrespected. Why the would my wife think it was okay to just quit her job without telling me and just expect me to be fine with it? My wife has been bombarding me with texts and calls, demanding to know where I am and that the kids miss me. I just told her to go find a lawyer and that I was done with her and then proceeded to block her. My son sent me a voicemail crying, asking why I was divorcing mom and if I was leaving the family, and I guess that kind of broke my heart. I haven't responded, and honestly, I don't know what to say to him. My mother in law has been demanding that I return home and apologize to my wife. My parents also seem to be siding with wife since they are traditional Muslims. My mom also used to be a stay at home mom. I feel like I'm wrong for immediately jumping to divorce without hearing her out. And besides this whole job drama, I love my wife too much for this to be the end of our perfect marriage. But on the other hand, I feel like I've just completely lost trust in her. Should I just swallow my pride and let my wife stay at home from now on, or should I follow through on divorcing her? How should I navigate this situation? Am I the asshole here?
Jeez.
Ooh wee! Oh man, this is crazy. Because with everything that we just said, and maybe I'm very curious what you would think because this is the first time we're watching this video together,
Yeah.
so we may
Yeah.
not agree on this. Um, Despite the fact that I do believe it was disrespectful for the woman not to communicate with the man, the Bible does say that um, that Yah hates the putting away, right? Um,
Hmm.
some Christians they believe that that means divorce. It really doesn't. That's another topic for another day. But he hates the putting away,
Hmm.
and in that, I believe in that same passage of scripture, Jesus is literally telling the disciples that, um, a man is not able to divorce his wife for any reason, save for fornication.
Hmm.
So now, whoo, so this is tough, right? Because, and I believe the disciples even said that, man, like that. If that's the case, maybe none of us should get married, right?
Yeah. Man.
But the question is, because of what I
Mhm.
understand from the word is like, is he justified for trying to divorce his wife? I'm gonna just have to honestly say, as much as it sucks, nah. I mean, yeah, that's very painful. That's a hard pill to swallow. That this woman said that you'll get over it. I think that was very disrespectful,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's very
Uh,
dishonorable. That's what I was thinking.
but did she commit fornication? Right?
Mhm.
Did she commit some level of adultery? Bestiality. Like
Mhm.
what sexual immorality did she engage in? From our understanding, what I could get from the letter, she did
Mhm.
commit fornication. So it's just like I'm inclined to believe that homeboy is wrong for trying to divorce his wife.
Mhm.
What you think?
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree. And because of the word, if I take my feelings and emotions out of it, yeah, she disrespected it. Da, 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 da. Okay, just relax. What does the word say? Let's go to the instructions. Let's go to the Torah. And like you said, Yah hates the putting away. What's the crime here? What's the sin that went forth? Um, and if we go back again, it's about I just keep hearing miscommunication. Like I don't think there's a lot of communication going on about expectations. I don't think there's very much honor, from her perspective, because obviously when she first told him or engaged in that, quitting the job type of thing, he told her his displeasure, and she went on with it. At that point, it's kind of like, okay, has this been happening before? You know, uh, has his marriage showed signs of that in the past, and now it's just coming to a head? We don't know. We don't have them on show to interview them, but just based on what we're hearing here, it's not a it's not a reason for a divorce. They need to find some old wise counsel, sit down, communicate, fix the marriage, and go on. Because in the end, the saying, with divorcees, I haven't. My parents stayed together, so I wasn't a child product of divorce. I lost a parent, through death, but divorce, no. So, but they always say how the children suffer. You get what I'm saying? When that happens. So I feel for the children. If they do go along with the divorce, because they're the ones that have to pay for it. You know what I mean? Because um, when the Most High, this, when the Most High made man and woman, obviously that's a union. So it's going to take that same union to raise those children up, to rear those children. So it's an unfortunate situation.
Man, I'm not hearing you, bro. So you telling
Yeah.
me your wife gonna your wife is gonna quit her job right now, and you gonna be cool with that?
I'm not saying I would be. I'm not saying I would be cool with it. I wouldn't be cool with it if it was just like you said. If it's no communication, just I look up. It's kind of like, oh, okay, we could have talked about this. Like what, what's going on? Because
Yeah.
I've had both. When we first got married. Both of us worked for a time. I just worked, so I see both sides. There's economic advantages to both. You get what I'm saying? So, but I wouldn't. I can't see myself just leaving a woman just because she quit a job,
Yeah.
because like you said at first, that's supposed to be my responsibility anyway, right? So if she quit, you know, we would just have to sit down and hash some things out. Like, hey, now what we could have talked about this.
Right. Yeah.
Because at the same time, she still is a human being. I can't I can't like lord over her and just do this and do that. At the end of the day, she is a grown woman. In the Messiah, so I have to treat her as such. So um, being sensitive to the wife needs, being sensitive to your woman needs. But this ain't that. Like we have a different mindset. We have a different culture mind than just regular people. You understand what I'm saying? We live our life by Torah. We live our lives by the instructions that the Most High gave us. So it's hard to square our thinking, our culture with a societal type of thinking, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So yeah, what you got? What saith you, man?
Man, ooh, this is good in so many reasons, in so many ways, because like, you even talked about like, you can't slave your wife.
Right.
And I know many Christians they adopt the posture that their wives, they in essence are the master of their wives. And we have verses that says that Sarah called her husband Abram master.
Master.
So there is definitely that. But I think the way that Abraham was a master unto Sarah is similar to how Jesus is our master, right?
Correct.
He doesn't force us to do anything. Everything is all predicated on free will.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, we are still charged to love our wives as Christ loved the church and gave his life for it. Now, again, like you've been saying throughout the whole video, like that communication should have been made.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point in time, if she's literally like, she, you know, the Bible does say a man is supposed to provide food, clothing, conjugal rights, right?
Correct.
That's just a
Mm-hmm.
fact. So, and even if he was to add another wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother topic in itself. But
Mm-hmm.
even if he was to add another wife, that can't be diminished, the food, clothing, and conjugal rights. So that's very clear that provision is on the man, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not that responsibility is not placed on the woman. So she doesn't, in theory, have to work. With that being said, though, I think you need to take into context the family and where the family is at that particular moment. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're living in a house, a huge house that you still got to pay the mortgage and or rent, whatever the case may be, you know, by doing that, did you jeopardize your family's well-being at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer could be, okay, well, the family needs to cut back. But again, it goes back to, could that man, even with his own income, legitimately take care of the family by himself? Because if he
Yes, sir.
can't, you literally just compromise their family, right? So I think that's something that is worth noting. And again, you know, like for example, I could even bring the Apocrypha, right? Where we have situations where Tobit, he lost his eyesight,
Mm-hmm.
and his wife, she did woman's work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So women, there's nothing wrong with women going to work. Again, I think the context is, does it benefit the family? In the situation with Tobit, he could not go to work clearly because he just lost his eyesight, right? So the woman came in and helped the family out.
Mm-hmm.
So are you woman? You were called to be a helpmeet, right? Are you help meeting the needs of the man? If you simply quit out of nowhere without no discussion whatsoever, mind you, to add, insult to the injury, you said you'll get over it. You withheld sex.
Yeah,
Like
that's
there's so much things compounding where, again, is the divorce justified? No, but you're putting a huge stumbling block on that man, that if he is to act on impulse at that
mm-hmm.
point in time, although it's not justified, don't be surprised if the man leaves you, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
conversation should have been made. And essentially, again, the biggest thing that comes to my mind is, do not jeopardize and compromise the safety and well-being of your family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to go back to this comment I heard. She said, I think in the letter, she said that the mother-in-law was putting pressure on the man to apologize or something like that. And I'm like, okay, so why is the mother-in-law trying to convince this man? If anything, she should be, and I don't know, but I'm just going by the information given. But if anything, the mother-in-law should be checking the wife. Like, what are you doing? No, you just on it, your husband. You causing all this confusion. You causing all this chaos by not communicating, by just doing what you want to do. Right? Again, I go back to the Most High. We just can't do what we want to do. Right? When we came into the covenant, with the Most High, He said, "Do this, 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 and that." And what do we say as a people? All that you said, all that you have spoken, we will do.
We'll do.
Right? So I'm pretty sure at the altar. Now I'm not familiar with their culture, but I'm pretty
What,
sure
what, what the man, not to cut you off, but they did
Yeah.
say that the mom was trying to convince like the man's mom was trying to convince him as well, and that the mom was Muslim, came from a Muslim background. So that, I mean, I don't know the background of the wife, but I would assume maybe, they probably Muslim. Or
Oh yeah. But yeah, the point I'm just getting to, man, is just why are the women trying to hammer down on the man? You know what I mean?
mm,
Instead, what the Bible say, let the older women teach the younger women, you know, how to love their husbands. And that wasn't a sign of love. That was not love, by just doing her own will, just out of the blue, right? And it seems to me that she knew that he could hold it down with her,
that's true.
with yeah, with her quitting, because every woman knows the finances of the home. I'm not gonna say every woman, but most households, I mean, the women keep up with the finances and help keep up with the finances, keep the books, balance check books, things like that. So she knows what's coming in and what's going out. So
Yeah.
I believe that helped her decision. I think she assumed that he was going to be okay with it. Yeah, it's it's a societal issue that requires both sides to, come in and communicate.
Yeah, I mean, I think you made a good point. Like she knew because, and the guy mentioned that. Don't quote me, but I think they were probably working maybe roughly 50-50, and then he said that I can. That's what the man wrote in the letter. I can
Hmm.
work 100% to
Yeah.
make up for it. But you see,
Hmm.
that goes back to that's another whole point, right? Like you women, do you see the, I guess, life work balance of your man? Are you considering that? Like, if this man is working, going out into the elements, and is that something you desire for your man, or do you simply don't care? Like, hey man, I just want you to put a roof over my head. I don't really care how
Hmm.
much you outside of the house. And every family is different, but I think that's something that is worth noting. Like, if your partner, man or woman, but if you
Hmm.
kind of see that they struggling, maybe their body's breaking down, or maybe you see that mentally they're not all there, you know, come up with ways to help one another, like don't just
Yes, sir.
assume like I just want to keep this lifestyle, so I don't really care how you get in it, just get this money. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Um, yeah, I think it's totally unfair. Um, do you want to see some of the comments that I was
Yeah, let's
getting?
do it. Yeah, let's check out some of the comments.
Yeah, so let's check this out. I'm gonna try to zoom in so that hopefully we can see as much as possible. Um, so you can see, and can you see that pretty well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Mel. She's the AH. Oh, the
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. The donkey, right?
Hmm.
That should be a mutual decision. That's wild as what. And she got 19 thousand, well, 1,962 likes for that one. You have Whitney. The fact he told her over and over he didn't want that life, and she went and did it anyway. Divorce. Wow. This is coming from a woman, by the way, y'all.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
she's advocating for divorce. Um, yeah, Melanie Wholesome, put her on a strict budget. If she wants to be a trad wife, give her the whole
Give it a
experience.
whole experience.
what do you think, man?
Oh man, that's classic. Yeah. Put on a strict budget. But it's like you said, the women are them the ones that's seems to be coming the most about getting a divorce, and that the woman was in the wrong. But I will say this though,
Yeah.
I do acknowledge the um I guess the desire to be home, where the focus is displaced, when she gets home, like what to do. But you can kind of tell that there is something in her that does want to be home. Now, what that is, I don't know, but it's not like she's from the I guess from the letter, she's not out there like going on shopping sprees and just spending money, just living that life. She's at home cooking dinner and wanting to be at home. That's why I
Mhm.
say, if she can get the children home and homeschool the children, if that's their decision, that would be good. But I do want to acknowledge the fact that there is something to be said that a woman that wants to be home, that would
Mhm.
like to be in a controlled environment and not out there in the hustle and bustle. So I do get that. Um, but as far as the comments go, yeah, most of the women they like get her up out of there.
Right,
Better
right,
up out of
right.
there. But I don't.
I think it's worth noting that women are also I think they steering the ship, when it comes to filing for divorce
Yeah.
by a landslide. So
Mhm.
women, I think, don't quote me, I don't know the statistics. I think it's about like 70% of women are actually the ones that actually are filing for divorce. Um, so I mean, I'm not really surprised that the women are the ones talking here.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I will say this too, right? Like, you brought up a point, like, okay, the desire for her to be home is should be commended to an extent, but I think the big red flag to me is that the fact that prior to that she was withholding sex, so that could be a red flag in terms of like the potential Jezebelic nature that that woman may have, where
Yeah.
she can try to manipulate, weaponize sex.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's easy to say that I'll give you unlimited, services, right,
Mhm.
sexual services once I'm at home. But the fact that she was able to do that, it kind of gives me some insight that this woman could be a bit dangerous, right? Like when you're
Mhm.
at home, will you really, you know, uh I guess shine in the other areas of the relationship like you claim you are, or are you just want to sit on your ass, like
Mhm. Yeah.
uh
Yeah. It's sad, man. That the not the qualities. What's the word I want to use here? I guess the role, the function of a woman nowadays is so skewed that you know this generation really don't understand marriage. They don't really understand relationship. Communication, like all of that, right? And you can see it clear because withholding sex, like you say, who weaponizes that? You know, who does that? Like that's not that's as to a young man or younger man, like that's all it is to it, right? That's it, in this world. But to a more mature man, a man that doesn't chase after all that, you get what I'm saying. Trying to
right.
keep it, yeah. No, that doesn't chase all that. It's like, okay, after that, then what?
Mm.
You can give your services all day, but after that, then what? Are you helping me build? Are you helping me as a man? You get what I'm saying? Are you industrious? Are we building? Are we growing? First and foremost, are we growing in Christ? Are we heading toward the kingdom? Are you being a woman? I mean, I'm a woman, a wife, a mother to the children. Are you being a wife to me? And man, that's a. I seen one of the comments that said both of them are in fault. Was that
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Let's
say
let's,
one of the comments
let's
said
bring it
both of
up.
them are.
We have
They're
Anne
both.
Marie
She's
um
making these on.
making a major decision like that without your spouse's approval is 100% divorce worthy. She
Mm-hmm.
isn't a good partner, and this was a cruel move. Then you have Sarah. They both a-holes, right? She's making moves on her own without mutual agreement, and he thinks he gets the final say on everything, and is ghosting the kids. Oh, the final say on everything, and is ghosting the kids. Ooh, I mean, that this does that make him an a-hole because he has the final say? No. I think that's his right as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Biblically in the family, he is the head after all, right? But I mean, ghosting the children, yeah, that's an a-hole move. I think that's absolutely a-hole move because I mean, it's just like, and we
So they
discussed
had
this
nothing to do
already,
with that. Yeah, they had
right?
nothing. They had nothing to do with that.
Right, and I think as one time the child even called the dad, right? It was like, "Hey, are you gonna leave? Like, what's going on?" So,
They haven't
I mean,
called them back.
that's pulling on your heartstrings. Like, you
Yeah,
gotta
man.
be, you
Yeah,
gotta be second guessing, right? Like, nah,
yeah.
and he is second guessing because after all, he wrote the letter. He
Mm-hmm.
asked him the question. So
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally, it's definitely pulling on his heartstrings. He's definitely, you know, I guess in the valley of indecision to some degree. Uh,
Yeah,
he's between a rock and a hard place, man.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you could tell he didn't, like you said, he doesn't really want the divorce. It's just
yeah,
I think he's dealing with that disrespect, that dishonor, knowing that, man, after all these years, 10, like 12 years, like you're gonna do me like this, you're gonna act this way, you know what I mean?
hmm
And now the children, feeling it, everybody's feeling it. Um, so I think a good sit down, you know, iron some things out, some communication, you know, because I don't, I don't, I don't advocate, you know, divorce for that. You get what I'm saying?
Well, maybe you could add on to this because, like, maybe that's the reason why Moses put that in there, right? Like he said, for the hardness of your hearts, he allowed them to put away to an
Mm-hmm.
extent. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, is it grounds for divorce? No, but maybe there should be some level of separation. Like, all right, you know what? You made this move on your own accord. Maybe you need some time to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to your
To your
parents.
father's house. Yeah.
Yeah, go back to your father's house.
Yes,
Uh,
is this what you want? You know.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
after all, you're making decisions without me now. So I guess,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm not really the head. So you go ahead and you know what I'm saying? And
let me ask you this:
yeah, go ahead.
do you think with that type of behavior from the woman that was overnight, or do you think he just ignored it all this time, and now it's to a point where he don't can't take it anymore?
I think even according to the man's own words, it was not overnight. I think he was ignoring her cry to want to be a trad wife,
Mm-hmm.
and he probably in to some extent was probably just being selfish. Like he probably was looking at it like, man, I still want to live my lifestyle. I only have to work 50%, whatever that means,
Yeah.
and still live the way we're living. So I think he ignored the cry of the woman. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so I guess that was her way to some extent, maybe almost like a checkmate move. Like, all right, I'm gonna force you to listen to me now because you hadn't been listening all this time. What do you think?
Yeah, I want to let me read the scripture here. Ephesians 4, right? 2 and 3 says, be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. Here
Mhm.
goes, make every effort to keep the unity of the spirit through the bond of peace. I think that's some solid, marital advice. You have to strive, work at it. Um, but to answer your question, I do think there was some ignoring on his part. Um, from the woman wanting to be a traditional wife, in my opinion, that's an honorable thing for a woman to want to be home, and um, keep up at the house. I'm not saying she's there just sitting on her behind, but like the Proverbs 31 woman, she rises up early, make sure everybody's dressed and fed, she's an industrious woman. She goes and considers the field and buys it. And the thing is, who can find a virtuous woman, which means she already got these qualities. She already has this mindset. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there just needs to be some teaching from the older generations to the younger generations on how to keep a man, how to communicate with a man, how to run a household, and vice versa. Men too. This is how you set your expectations. This is what you deal with. This is what you don't deal with. On both sides. You get what I'm saying? Just to provide some balance there.
Right. That I think that's a good way to kind of like maybe land the plane, like the balance, right? Because again, I can't help but feel that in order for you to assume that this was okay, like you said, it must have been a cultural thing. Like you must have assumed that culturally, whether it be through the religious upbringing or whatever, that it's okay for a woman to just be home. And again, I know you kept saying that it's honorable, probably worth commending. I do believe it's worth commending, but with balance, right? Because again, staying home, what would that look like? And
Mm-hmm.
for these women, a lot of women I would see all the time, they in their social media, oh, I'm a Proverbs 31. Well, okay, are you actually are you? Like
Yeah.
you said, they already have these qualities. So I think there's this idea or this notion that a Proverbs 31 is this woman who just sits in the house, and so long as she just take care of the children and clean and washes, essentially being a maid. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to demean that. However, can you be in the category of a Proverbs 31 if you don't do business?
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, uh, and to add balance, just because you do business, that doesn't necessarily
That
make you a
don't
Proverbs
mean
31. So I just want to add some balance here. But
yes.
again, it's you know you got to consider everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is that they needed to be some communication going forth. so that as you so beautifully brought out in that verse, so that you could continue in the bond of peace, as they said,
Hmm.
you got to keep the peace. It's got to be the peace.
Yeah, you got to
Uh,
strive for it, work for
right, right. Well, I think this was a beautiful video. If you guys, if you liked what you saw today, please like, subscribe, comment down below. And once again, my name is Nick, and this is my brother.
Alan, time to get about our Father's business.
Time
Hallelujah.
to get about our Father's business. Do you have any last words before we head up, my brother?
No, man, beautiful, beautiful podcast. Look forward to the next one, and that's all I got, my brother. How about yourself?
Hey, you guys, it's been a beautiful time spending time with you all. Love you dearly, and I pray that this was edifying. I pray that this message can help you get that much closer in your journey with the Messiah, Jesus the Christ. All right, with that being said, we over and out. Bless y'all.
Lift them up and give him praise. 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 We lift them up and give him praise. Lift them up and give him praise. We lift them up and give him. We lift them up and give him. Yahweh, Yahweh, higher, higher, oh Yahweh. We lifting you higher, 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 oh Yahweh. We lifting you higher, higher. Raise a shout for Yah, all the earth. Serve Yahweh with gladness. Come before His presence with singing. Know Yah, He is now. He has made us. We are His people and the sheep of His pasture. Enter His gates with thanksgiving and into His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him, bless His holy name. For Yahweh is good, His love and commitment is everlasting, and His truth to all generations. Enter His gates with thanksgiving and into His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him, bless His holy name. For Yahweh is good, His love and commitment is everlasting, and His truth to all generations. Enter His gates with thanksgiving and into His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him, bless His holy name. For Yahweh is good, His love and commitment is everlasting, His truth to all generations. Enter His gates with thanksgiving and into His courts with praise. Thanks to Him, bless His holy name. For Yahweh is good, His love and commitment is everlasting, and His truth to all generations.